This is the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
We are TFR.
Truth Frequency Radio. When you finally boil it all down, magic is imagination. We are moving into an age of manifestation. Things become actually less material, more ethereal. The golden dawn is when we awaken to this new station of light. What you think becomes real quicker. Regain our imagination, regain our inner child, and let that inner child out.
My name is Frank Castle, founding member of the music group Heist Click and New York City Neo Shaman. After a serious injury sidelined my career in 2013, I decided to set out on an adventure to search for myself with the help of the plant medicine ayahuasca. What I discovered waiting for me was something I could have never prepared for. It was time for me to become something more, someone more. It was time I became fearless. In the darkest of nights, gonna let my light shine as my heart beats a rhythm with space and time. When the light starts to shine inside your third eye, you awake to the knowledge that you never die.
What is up, everybody? This is your man Frank Castle, your sorcerer supreme Saturday nights. And I'm here with my etherical translator, Paula Milo.
Hey, everyone.
Before we start the show, I want to shout out Chris and Cherie Gio. Love you guys. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be here and doing exactly what we're doing. So stick around after the show. Beyond the Veil is next. I'm looking over at you because I'm a little nervous tonight. Just a little bit, though.
Why? Why are you nervous?
I'm glad you asked why I'm nervous. Because we're going to talk about things tonight that are the paranormal. This is our dedicated Halloween show. Next week, we're taking a break so we can live the ritual. And it'll be the first time in years. But I'm going to start back at square one tonight. I want people to really think back to the weirder moments, to the things that I saw that happen. I've heard about that. I've seen that go down, but then you forget about it. You grow up, you kind of move on.
So you're talking about the paranormal stuff, right? Ghosts.
Goblins, things that go, you know. I was a scared kid growing up, even though I had to come off like a tough guy at times. Before I get into any of this, don't forget to check out Heist Click, HeistClick, Amazon, iTunes, Spotify, iHeart. Just type it into Google, go to the YouTube. Don't forget to get the Truth Frequency app.
Yes, it makes things
sign up.
Easy.
Look, we have a lot of things going on with the individual hosts, and you want to show your support, you know, if we have music or whatever, we're selling a t-shirt or something, show your support that way. You don't necessarily have to sign up if you don't want to, but that app is awesome. All right. Also, someone's going to drink right there. I just did it again. I want to just talk about the election real quick.
Okay.
Just really quick. I don't like talking about any of this political nonsense because it's all a game. It's all, and I know we're all watching. There's so much more than us just watching. There was a lot of reports that came out lately from WikiLeaks, all different documents. Man, I don't know if any of that stuff's real. I'm not a scientist. I'm not any of those people. I'm not a documentist, right? Where I could look at this and go, yep, this is real. It's stamped. You know, it's kind of not what I do. But some of the things that came out of there are pretty ugly, pretty dark. So it's going to kind of fit what we're talking about tonight. Just to keep your eyes open. They talk about the October surprise.
Well, now it's the November surprise.
Now it's the November surprise.
They're saying there's going to be some really big piece of information that's dropped November 1st about Hillary Clinton. And
I could imagine. I mean, it's already, we don't grab all these people by the necks and just throw them in jail. You know, I'll tell you what, you guys are lucky. that this isn't taking place in the Bronx, because we'd settle it the old way. We would just make a circle around you, and whoever came out swinging.
Oh, stop.
All right, never mind.
What, 20 years ago? Not now.
So I just want to say one of these documents was sent to me. When I first looked at it, I just looked over it, and I didn't go all the way to the end. I just said, this is nonsense. It was from a security firm. It was talking to Hillary Clinton's foundation or whatever. And it pretty much showed all her stats, and she was getting murdered in every poll.
Okay.
And then someone said, well, what did you think about it? And I said, I it's just nonsense to me. It's all political. He goes, did you scroll down to the bottom? And I said, no, I had no idea. So I scrolled all the way down to the bottom, and it said resolution.
Oh, yeah, that's
right.
That thing you showed me.
Okay, now, when I saw the word resolution, I said, what are they thinking about doing? Like, how can they resolve this problem of her just getting pretty much murdered in every which way and shape? And it shows a device that can project lasers into the sky and create the hologram of UFOs and an alien invading force that is beyond glorious, that would pretty much frighten everyone to submission, happening right before the elections, somehow handing her the election to a competent party that knows how to run these things. I don't know.
I don't even think astrologers know at this point who's going to win this election. I think I don't even have words. Like, I don't even have words. I don't.
It's a clown show
for what's going on.
It's turned into the WWE. It's disrespectful.
They don't even shake hands or
no shake hands.
And,
I'm surprised they haven't drop kicked anyone yet.
But
now
that's not how how it's done.
But that's not the scary part. The scary part, guys and gals out there, everyone listening, is the people that are doing anything involved with this. That's scary. This is a clown show. You're insulting our intelligence. You shouldn't be able to get away with this. You should be locked up. We had fail-safe after fail-safe for nonsense and mumbo-jumbo. And yet everyone wants to just blame Russia and then not take responsibility for themselves. That's still not even the scariest part. So this thing projects designs in the sky in the 3D environment. I'm sure you guys heard of Blue Beam. If you haven't, look it up. Operation Blue Beam. This is a different.
It's like they renamed the.
Yeah, and it showed exactly how they're going to do it in this document and what it does. They would turn on HARP. There's they use frequency, so it goes through your cell phones. It goes through the cell phone towers, so you're not out of reach. They're just going to broadcast it. It'll sound like maybe you're God, maybe the alien invaders, maybe Christ. Who knows? I'm just going to say this because this is pretty frightening. When I was saying this, like, oh my good, this is from a security firm to her. If this is real, they're saying the only way out of this is to get this crazy with something as crazy as this.
Yeah, but how unreal is that they have to go to those measures? They have to go that far
because it's
to get out of to undo all the damage.
All the world truly is a stage, so the production has gone up, way up.
I guess so. I don't want to spend any more time talking about this.
I know. It's just scary thinking what they might try to do. Now, that's nothing. It could be a million other things. All I'm asking you guys to do is keep your heads twisted on correctly. I'm going to tell you, from being on the other side as many times as I have, they've shown me meteors smacking the planet.
Yep.
They said, listen, I said, well, this happens. They said, no, not as often as you might think. If you see this, know that somebody's throwing them at you. And then showed me every scenario. And I said, well, is this the future? And they said, no, it's not technically the future. It might not happen, but it's a strong possibility. We have to show you all of these. So if they're going to get direct and show me entities and asteroids and meteors smacking the planet and starships and stuff, something's
going on.
Something's going up in the high percentages and probabilities that something weird can actually happen.
Absolutely. And our chat room folks are going off. They're going
Listen,
crazy.
I'm not against I'm not against whoever remembers V, the final battle, the original one, when the girl, they kind of run out on the aliens that were trying to be friends with everyone, and the girl runs up on stage with the head guy and just rips his face off, and underneath was the alien, was the reptile skin. They were actually reptiles wearing makeup, pretty much.
Right. Well,
and what were they stealing? Water and people. They were eating people and taking over the planet, and they were just taking it with them.
What about that movie? When we were kids, it was the 80s Halloween when you bought the mask and you put the mask on.
Now, in forms of technology, they put the mask on.
And then
the frequency tuned into
the television set,
and they send some kind of signal out, and your head would explode inside the mask. Oh, how nice.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, we're your protection from deception. So I'm telling you right now, they have not said to me anything that like, oh, we're coming and we're going to land and we're going to come say hi to you. They've already outlined an entire plan I'm going to share with you guys one night. So it's not this at all. So if they start landing and broadcasting and going crazy, it's not your God, lowercase g. It's not him, her. It's
man-made.
It's man-made, and most likely it's the reptile hand that's flipping this switch. They want you to go crazy. Don't hate each other. Doesn't matter. If you don't like something, stay away from it.
Well, that's it.
Don't riot. Don't loot. Don't loot. Right? Yeah. If like we're in the Bronx, everybody's multicultural here. You just love your neighbor. Don't take to the streets and do anything, because that's not how this is going to be won or done.
No.
So just stay at home, and I would suggest laughing as loud as you can, because this is the insanity. They want you so tied in and roped into this that if you don't break that conditioning, there's not a lot of people out there drinking ayahuasca and smoking tons of pot going, it's not going to happen. Not letting it happen, not with that kind of mentality.
No, but
where
they're going to drive people towards religion. So everyone's going to go to their own religion, go to their own faith, and then it's divide and conquer. It's my religion's better than yours. My God will save.
And once again, you're back into religious control again. You
Right.
guys are going to step backwards into history by doing this. You win by turning them into clown shoes. I don't know how best to explain this. They hate being laughed at. They hate it. If you see it for what it is, right? There's going to be things that are going to affect you. But you guys know, going to the polls and voting, I'm not telling you not to. I'm just telling you that it's not going to accomplish anything. There's a whole electoral process set up. We could all vote one way and the other way gets in.
Breathe.
No, this is well, we only have an hour, and I want it to be important, because it is important. Okay. This is that moment. And if nothing happens, good. We avoided it. Collective consciousness is what's steering this.
Sure. It can go one way or another, depending on how you're thinking about it.
Right. So if we're like, we constantly see things that say, we narrowly escaped disaster. Asteroid 612 missed the planet by this much. A nuke could have went off. A UFO saved us. This happened. This could have. This is going on and on. When you see it from outside, you realize it's just your collective consciousness bringing in the beings or the consciousness ability to go out and help the situation. It's magic. We're using energy and manipulation.
Yeah, and you can use energy to change the outcome as well. So you just have to be
You can be
your best you.
You have to be the best you can be. Take responsibility for self. You don't have to run out and tell the whole world. Just take care of your household, You don't have to run up to them and shake them and go, it's all going to die. No, that's not what's going to happen. It's not. Look, 2012, they thought the world was going to blow up. Oh, my God. No, that was the consciousness shift. Yeah. They wanted you not to know that so you wouldn't understand what was happening, and then they could manipulate a narrative. And we can't allow that.
Right.
Look, guys, this is more frightening than ever. On this level, remember, we're deep end of the pool. We're battling for the eternity of our soul beyond what's happening here in the physical plane. It's like a 50-50 battle. You got the boots that could stomp you here, and you're being piled on. Listen, you're the light. You're from the source, the big giant energy ball of all. And they're playing pile on with you. They're jumping on you. They're whispering in your ear. They're tickling you sideways. They're making you go left instead of right. All you have to do is claim your space and say no. That's why no is so important. People go, what's this important saying no? Yeah, I spent multiple ayahuasca sessions, and tonight's show is not on any of those sessions.
Yeah, just
learning how to say no. They would send beings up to me. They'd send all kinds of enticing things. For me, it's like crack candy. Oh, you mean I get a cape and boots and a laser gun and I get to rescue the woman? And then I realized through discernment, because I was so overwhelmed with oh my God, I could do this, lowercase g, and I could do that I never just concentrated on the being and going, what does he want? What is he here for? Because I don't need anything.
What do you want from me?
Yeah, I don't need anything. Like, you're connected to all that you need, and you're connected to the all. But if someone's gonna show up and give you problems, you don't need it. It's a hanger-on. It has they all have their own thing going on, and they're gonna push you in that direction. So you can.
Well, they have their own agenda. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Every single one of them. So don't try to relate one to the other, to this, to that. Know you, and you are all. Look right at them. Use discernment. Think of it, if you're into comic books, it's your spider sense. Take a moment, take a deep breath, and go, okay, what are you doing here?
Yeah,
why do I need you?
Exactly.
There's been moments, the more I learn, is that sometimes your thoughts are just purely not your own, right? But if you don't take self-responsibility, someone else will come in and just start moving things around. And then you'll go, I don't know. Oh God, lowercase g, what came over me to make me do that? Well, there's you, and then there's your ability to run your program. If you sit back very lazily inside, spiritually unarmed, no protection, no belief system, you're going to get manipulated very easily. Even the atheist gets manipulated just as easily as the one who likes anything. I've been manipulated. We've all done it. I'm no stranger to screwing up on scales that you guys might go, wow, I can't even believe I'm listening to him talk right now. And that's what he did. Well, it's what I did, so I knew not what to do that ever again. How's that sound? And it made me a better person. Instead of looking at it as loss, I wish I could go back and change all this.
No,
I said,
lessons learned.
Exactly, lessons learned. You can't go back to the past. Forget it. Forgive and move on, because there's so much more happening, and it's frightening what they're coming to do. I get upset when they show me the masses get whatever it is in whatever timeline and what. I say we could have prevented everything, even on the grand scale, right? Only a few of us, and I mean, by a few, I mean a lot, but not all of us. They are just not lit with the light, like they're fully corrupted. But it's almost like they're supposed to be here to do that for us to learn the compassion about what just occurred, because our emotional bandwidth has more compassion in it than anywhere. Like the power in it, your emotion. Think of how angry you get at stupid things or something that's incredibly crazy and you're so angry. Think of all the times that you've lost it or whatever. Flip all that onto compassion. Right. And think of how powerful that's going to be.
Well, I think we're the only planet that feels a range of compassion the way we do. And I think that's why all other entities are very interested in us. Absolutely.
Well, they're also connected to us. It's a grand experiment. They want to. This is like a giant general hospital. The TV show that everyone's watching. Okay. We've talked about the dollhouse, right? Outside of the house, as you look up at them, Shiva was looking in. Everyone else was plastered to a wall. It was like they were drawn on some kind of dome around me. I can't explain it. And as they were needed, they just come off. This is why I believe it's a simulation. It's like you're activating something and they're being presented into you, but you have to know what you're doing, or you can get tricked. And during Halloween, it's trick or treat, right? Right. What are they saying? You're low again?
Yeah.
Okay, check it out. You good? All right, there you go. Try now.
All right, let me know, guys, how I'm doing.
All right, so I want to go back in time a little bit. When I was a kid, and I have weird memories from being a child, I remember the birthing process, taking that breath of air. Like, I remember it, and there's some people out there that remembers this.
Yeah, there are some people. I have friends that remember. I remember back, I can go back as early as 2 years old. And I have a few friends who can go back that early as well. So, yeah.
I have all of my memories from, like, it starts getting weird around 5. It gets chopped up a little, like, from beginning.
Right.
And then after 9, that's when the divorce occurred and things started happening that were it changed everything and pushed it. So my life was steered into a different direction during that time. But as a child, I remembered the magic.
Yeah, very happy memories. Yeah.
My mother, to me, was magic. Mm-hmm. She was, when I met Aya, it was like the first time I opened my eyes and looked into my mother's eyes. And I couldn't even, I remember not being able to see, but understanding. It was weird. It was like I was an adult with this baby brain that's not even developed. So it made no sense. You're just flopping around kind of. But the I in me, the I am, understood.
Right.
I felt her breath. I remember her singing and just holding me. Weird things like being very little and then her jumping in the shower with me, right? I don't remember taking a shower with her like that. She had me over her shoulder and she would sing and I could just feel the water. And I remember more of these moments up to 9, and then it kind of stops. It goes a different direction. So I had a lot of magical moments as a kid, but I also had a lot of very frightening moments. During this time, I was very open. Things occurred that I didn't understand at all.
No, and I can imagine you have no one to talk to. You have no one you could even ask about these things.
My mother promoted fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
She promoted individual achievements of just do what you want to do. You love it a lot. Love it so much. She used Star Wars a little bit, the Force kind of theory. I guess they were really, really into it, as well as adults seeing it for the first time and having a kid and having to sit through it 16 times. So she based a lot more on that, even though they sent me to religious jail. In the Bronx, you're actually better off in Catholic school, but we won't get to there. That's a horror story in itself. But I remember certain things occurring that were very scary. And I don't know if you guys remember 1970, I think it was 78 or 79, Skylab, the was falling from the sky. It was the space station, and they asked everyone to stay inside. Do you remember that?
I particularly don't.
It landed, I believe, in the Indian Ocean. And they made us, they were like, well, for a couple of days, there's going to be stuff falling. We don't exactly know where it's going to fall. You could just Google Skylab, thing, 1979 or 1978. It'll come right up. Okay. They had a newspaper article or a newspaper thing that said, stay inside. That's how they announced it. It was newspapers, light television. Right. They were just, we're just urging you to kind of stay off the streets. So my father he was a sanitation worker. He went to work. It was a Saturday. My mother said, we're definitely staying in, and we're going to do like a mother-son thing, make popcorn. We're going to watch the Kung Fu Theater. I tell people this story, and it totally freaks out everything. All right, so I'm only 5 years old.
Right.
Maybe, right? I'm 6 years old. Okay, so I'm sitting with her. Now, the show was from like 12 to 2. Pretty sure it was 12 to 2. It was right after cartoons. It was Saturday. It was raining a little bit. Now, I sat in front of the TV set, and I was waiting for her to bring in the popcorn, and the window was behind the TV, but we were in a ground apartment. So if you were standing outside the window looking in, it was like a 3-foot drop off. So you'd be looking directly on the angle at me.
Right.
But the window was a weird length. So you could also, it would be up to your knees, but from your knees to your head could be seen, and you could literally step in the window that whole way. It just would open that like that, and you could step in.
Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. But the bushes were out front, block that. So it looks like you could go upstairs or down the driveway, and that's it. So this is just a window, let the sun in, really nice. Okay, so I'm sitting there, and my mom comes. She sits next to me, and she holds me as tight as she can. And I remember looking at the TV, and then looking behind the TV in the window. There was no one there the first time. The second time I looked, there was a humanoid that was the size of the window. So he was as big as a man. This is what freaked me out. I remembered his eyes, but the eyes looked like goggles, right? And he looked like it was all black, and he looked like he was wearing a skin-tight outfit. Skin-tight. But the outfit went over his head and the goggles as well. Like the goggles just protruded out.
Like a scuba suit.
Like a giant scuba suit. Yeah, but the head was big on this thing. And the goggles were big. There's a character in the comic books called Black Manta. He fights Aquaman. He has like this helmet he wears on his head that has, it's not as much, I think, he has the two eyes on either side, and they glow red. And he shoots the beams out of them. I remember them looked like a cross between this character, but all black, and a frog. That's what it reminded me. When I looked at his head, I went, oh my, like, I didn't understand it. Like, it didn't look like a human head.
That is terrifying.
As you could imagine what's going to happen next, I'm going to just tell you guys, I'm shaking. I love you guys. Your protection from deception.
I'm running down the sands of time. Another drink of ayahuasca just to free my mind. I hope to find another day what I've lost before. I'm trying to find my second wind so I can live some more. Don't try to tell me how it is or what.
No hate, no hype, no fear.
You're listening to Truth Frequency Radio.
We are TFR.
Am I awake or is this a dream? It's a dream. It's a dream. A fantasy of where I'd rather be. So come and talk with me. Come and walk with me. Is this a wake-up call from my reality? Have you seen my friends? Have you seen my girl? Wake me up from this. I'm trapped in this world. Thought you were alive.
What is up, everybody? We're back from the break. You know, I'm freaking out about this, but before we start, say hi, Paula.
Can everyone hear me? Because I feel like I don't know if it's the mic or if it's me, but Frank just turned it up, so just let me know in the chat room, guys.
All right. She's definitely not my handler as well.
Oh,
Yeah. All right, you know what? We'll sit like this.
all right, we're gonna share a mic.
Bring it all together.
Oh, okay.
All right, so I looked up and I saw this being, a character. He looked like a cross between what I saw on like Justice League cartoon. It was the shape of the head and the eyes. It bulged out on top. So it was very frog-like, almost like a frog suit.
Like Frog Baby?
Yeah, but no, more man. Now, I looked directly at this thing. And then I don't even know if I blinked. And my mother screamed so loud, and she grabbed me under her arm. We were sitting like Indian style, right? And she was just threw her arm around me and squeezed like, and I took a deep breath. And when I looked back at the TV, it was the end of
The movie.
They're 2 hours long. It was the end credits. And she was still holding me like, I can't even tell you guys how tight she was squeezing me. I was a little kid. She was like, bah! And I screamed like, ah! I don't know what's happening to me. And then I look, and she's just coming out of it, and she's still holding me and has no clue what just happened. She just looked down at me, got up and walked away. She called my father. She's like, I don't know what the hell is going on, but you need to come home. So she used to be a screamer. So, rah, better get home now. Rah. So I was sitting there, and I thought to myself, I don't feel right. I don't feel comfortable.
No.
What was that? What would be so direct to 12 o'clock in this weird, rainy afternoon, just coming to the front of the house like that? All right, well, I'm going to just jump ahead really quick years later, because honestly, I only remember after that my mother's face, like the faces she made were...
Well, you
don't want to see your mother make those faces, because there's no help. Like, who helps you if mom can't help you? A policeman? How do you explain that to a cop? Nobody even knows what really happened. Now, we had popcorn, and she put the melted butter and everything on it, and it was so nice and hot and steamy. When she put it down, you can see that the popcorn was fresh and hot. The stuff was ice cold. It was still all sitting there. And
you didn't know, you couldn't recall those last 2 hours?
No, there was nothing.
Because it felt like a few minutes that had gone by.
I blinked at most. That's how long.
It's scary.
So, but when I came back, my mother felt frozen still. Like that death grip was still on me. So we'll fast forward a little bit. I know Men in Black and all kinds of stuff like that.
That's really important.
I just want to say there was an article I read years later. It was a conspiracy thing. I don't know if it was somebody's blog or it said something about Skylab was actually it had to do with aliens, and aliens shot this thing down. And they didn't know what was going on. So what they did was they told people in certain areas to stay in. Now, also in this article, it said something about aliens running around. They shot down in like a UFO, and it landed over New York and Pennsylvania and stuff. So I'm like, what? I thought this was the rantings of someone. I couldn't find this article. I looked, and I said to myself, what is wrong with this? But they seem to think that it had something to do with the Skylab. It all happened at the same time. There's all kinds of weird events. Now, here's something. 17-year-old Stan Thornton found 22 pieces of Skylab at his home. A Philadelphia businessman flew him to his parents and to his girlfriend in San Francisco, where they collected the Examiner Prize. Let's see. Large piece of the Skylab debris was displayed on the stage. Analysis of the debris. Where was this found, though? It's collected. It's the Miss Universe pageant is what it's trying to say. And the Miss Universe pageant is definitely a ritual, by the way. So, yeah.
Thank you, Christy.
Yeah. Oh, it was in Australia. Yeah, because in the Indian Ocean is where it landed. But they had us indoors in the Bronx. Now, I confirmed this with my mother. Confirmed it. Like, this did occur. When I ask her, what did you see? She doesn't want to talk about it. To this day,
To this day, she won't talk about it with you?
She'll go, I don't know. Yeah. Like, they push it off. Now, I know what this is how I know it gets realer. I've seen other family members do that to me. Like, oh, I've seen that. My cousin Jimmy Boy passed away in Loretta Park in the Bronx. He OD'd. This was right around the same age. I moved a year later. It was kind of just a few blocks away. He passed away, and I was in a big room by myself. We had a whole house now, and my father says, it was like a Friday night. He's like, I want you to go upstairs and go to bed. I said, listen, I'm not very comfortable now. I'm a little kid. I'm not comfortable in this room yet. I want to stay with you guys. So he screams at me, get out of here. And I go up the staircase. I look, take 3 steps, and Jimmy's sitting at the top of the stairs. Has this gold color. I talked about this being on my uncle. Like, it's like the best version of you.
Yeah.
But you have this, it's almost like a halo effect around your body. And he waved to me. Come here, cuz. And I screamed as loud as you can scream.
I would too.
Because I just came back from your funeral and wake. And I walked right back into the living room. I grabbed my mother. I said, I'm staying right here. She goes, what happened? I said, Jimmy Boy's at the top of the stairs.
Oh, boy.
My father says, this is what you get for teaching him fantasy and all kinds of crazy things. So my mother grabs me by the arm. She goes, come on, I'll bring you upstairs. I go, he's still standing there. She comes up the staircase, looks. She goes, oh, my. Pulls me close, walks me back into the living room, and tells my father where to go. And my mother is hardcore. Like, I will tell you how it is. So when I asked about ghosts, aliens, my mother just says, well, you know, read the stories, Star Wars, you know, it's crazy. You know, you just use your imagination.
But she never says no. It's
never said no to any of this. My father doesn't exist. But I'm going to get to a point with some of this. I had multiple moments where things like this occurred. On top of weird deja vus and seeing things out of the corner of my eyes. I had a moment in 1998. I came home from Florida. It was Mother's Day. It was the day before Mother's Day. And I came upstairs from the basement with my brother. We had like a furnished basement. So we came up for the night and shutting the lights. I came into the kitchen and the kitchen light was on. The dining room light was on. And there was, we have a giant bay window and the street light just comes right in. And I look and I see a guy standing in my living room. Just standing there. And I'm like, oh, somebody's robbing my house. Right? Now my grandparents are here. My mother's upstairs sleeping,
so
but I'm a hulking 200-pound muscular kid.
You're going to take care of what you got to take care of.
So I run up and I get right to this, like the halfway between me and this person. And I stop and I realize he has no feet. There's no feet.
Terrifying.
He's just floating there. And then I said, okay, well, it's a shadow. It's definitely a shadow, but I could see through it, but it's thick. It looked directly at me and moved at me across the room and went, it was taller than me. I'm only 5'8". This was definitely a 6-foot person, maybe 6'1". Looked me right in the face. And he had a hat. And it looked like he was wearing a suit, but not the suit jacket, instead a 3/4 coat. And I looked at him and I was like, Grandpa? And he looked like my grandfather. And I froze in total fear and submission.
I would too.
Frozen. This ruined me for a minute. It looked at me and moved up the staircase. It didn't walk over. It moved across the room. So I look back. It goes up the staircase, comes down. My brother's right behind me, but he stopped in the kitchen. I guess he was closing the door to the basement or something. It just held him up for 1 second. He comes into the kitchen. I see it moving right into, the light was on in both rooms. It was a thick, shadowy black mass that you could still see through, but yet when it moves, you can feel the air disturbed around it. Like, you know, when someone walks up on you quickly, you feel the air, the breeze. It was doing that. Wow. So I hear my brother scream, because although it's not one big open floor plan, it's like room by room. Right? I hear him scream, and then I hear him hit the floor.
He passed out.
Well, he definitely collapsed. and he was going, Frank. So I go to, I didn't want to run. I to be honest, I was frightened to death because now I know this is really occurring. And I go for a little moment in my mind where I'm like, I gotta save Rob to wait, save yourself, right? And then I went, no. And I watched it go right out the back door. It just like,
So you knew it wasn't in the house.
yeah, from the front of the house you
yeah.
can see straight through, but there are sections that you can hide, and they're unseen. So Rob was on the floor where the garbage pails were, and I ran. I go, Rob, what happened to you? And he goes, I thought it was you. I really, really thought it was you. And then this thing looked at me, and it went. He goes, I didn't know if it was breathing on me or if that's the noise it made when it moved. He looked right at me, and then he collapsed to the floor. His hand was on his chest. His hand was out.
Oh my.
His mouth was wide open. And now he was 14, I think. His hair turned white on the sides of his head. And back then I didn't have the beard. I had the small goatee. It's funny when I hear the commercial right before we came in, it's the Italian guy. I feel like, I don't know if that's on because the synchronicity of me being that Italian, feeling that.
Oh, I don't know.
Right? But that's kind of me back then. Hey, what's going on? Hey, what's up, my man? To frightened, so scared that I had a white strip in the front of my face.
So your brother got the white around his hair. And you got it on your
just like Mr. Fantastic from the Fantastic Four. He has the silver hair on the sides. Rob has had that since he's like 14 because he saw a ghost. And he argues with me I'm not saying anything bad. He'll argue with me about everything down the line. And I'll go, but you were there and you saw exactly what I saw. And he goes, yes. That's why I enter these conversations with you. But it gets pretty out there from that.
Well, he doesn't want to go any further than that.
Now, I don't know about you. Now, these are just, I wanted to just put those together. Those are some stories I've told on random shows, some paranormal stuff. Do you have anything like spiritually or paranormal connected that has happened to you?
Oh, yeah. I got the Godsmack. Oh, yeah. So I was going through a very, very bad time in my life. I was trying to climb out of a relationship. I was trying to put myself back together, and it was really just a terrible, terrible time. And I had questioned everything. I mean, I started going back to church, but that really wasn't what I was looking for. And I was with the girls, and we went to a Boardwalk Psychic, and she said, I have to tell you, your aura is around your ankles and it's dark brown or gray. And I remember not knowing much, but I knew that wasn't good. And after that had happened, and the way she said it, but it didn't sound like she was saying the words. It sounded like something else was trying to communicate with me through her. And I know this sounds ridiculous, but it's true. And I took that piece of information and I basically changed the whole way I thought about things. And I did get the Godsmack. I mean, there were times when I would be engaged in an argument and a literal hand would cover my mouth and words would not come out. And I know it wasn't me and I know it wasn't my hand, but it felt like literally a hand would come over and cover my mouth. And that would happen to me for years. And then...
well, there's something really there.
Oh, there was. Yeah.
Putting a cover over your
mouth. An
mouth.
etheric hand over my mouth. I mean, as we were
absolutely
setting up tonight for the show, I keep feeling someone brushing my hair, like brushing their hand against my hair. And, I've had many, many of these experiences, and I always thought it was my angels or my guides or my loved ones. And I'm okay with the idea that it could be them. Now I understand it could be a lot more than that. But yeah, I think once I allowed it to be a part of my life, those guides or spirits or angels have helped me along the way, every step of the way. So no, I'm not afraid to have them around.
Right. Did it ever scare you knowing there was more, or were you attached to it? Some people, because you seem so like down with it without having to try.
I'm okay with it. I'm fine with it.
Yeah. It's interesting.
I don't know why. I just am. I don't know why.
With me, it's like playing peekaboo with a 2-year-old. Where you go peekaboo, oh my God, it's like I can't believe. Me and Josh talk about this all the time. That's all this is on every level, right? So, what are these things? I mean, those that listen to the show know that there's more going on.
Oh, yeah.
The involvement that they have with us is way greater than you could imagine. Their hands have been dipping into our reality at times, manipulating things.
Well, they're invested, yeah.
There are things running around that are just in 3D as well. All eyes are on us. Everyone's watching the great soap opera. And we're playing peekaboo with these things. They're just appearing or showing up at times in our lives. Oh, and then it's back to oh, that never happened.
That never happened.
That couldn't have possibly have happened. Well, this one time this did happen. Someone always shows up with a crazy story. If you allow the comfort zone for that story to take place.
Oh, I have a good story. I was in Massachusetts with the girls. We had gone to Salem for I don't remember why. There were a group of us. So I was sharing a room with my friends. So we were staying in a historic hotel. I don't remember the name of it, of course, because I'm bad that way. And it was known to be haunted. And we did have an experience with a ghost. And it was so funny because no one would believe us until my friend got it on camera. So it was long story short, my friend's cell phone, it kept turning it on and calling me. And then no one was touching the phone. And then I had called home to check on my family to see how they were. And my aunt says, oh, the girls are drinking again. They're talking about ghosts. They don't know what they're talking about. And every time she hung up, Cindy's phone would call my home in my family's house. And it was hysterical because no one was touching the phone. So then we shut the phone off. Now we're recording it. And then we turn the phone back on. The girls come down. They're recording it. Now it's texting random people in her phone. She had a smartphone. I don't think I had a smartphone yet. And it found someone. It was a business partner for the Mets. So he must have been a Met fan, whatever ghost it was, because he kept trying to call this guy from the Mets or text this guy from the Mets, and it was hysterical. And then at one point, in the middle of the night, the phone turned on, and it was on speakerphone, and it was just randomly calling people. She literally had to disconnect her phone to get it to stop calling people.
That's rough.
It was fun, but no one believed us. But now Frank and I have seen so much now that that doesn't even matter.
Yeah, I make jokes about that. Like when the ghosts show up, like I'm like, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Yeah.
Are you okay? Do you need help?"
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Well, what do you need?
Yeah, it's. There were frightening moments. I don't know if I have enough time. Okay, let's fast forward for a moment.
Okay.
I'm sitting in a jail cell in Florida, saying, oh, I'm going to be here for a while. And this went on for, let's say, months. And one night, while everyone was screaming how they're going to, whatever, kick my ass, stepping outside of the cage, I was just sitting, I get like, once again, feet crossed, Indian style, staring at the wall.
Meditating.
Well, I wasn't meditating. I was scared. Out of control scared, like frightened that I was going to go out there because you have to go out at one point.
Right.
And I'm going to have to fight everyone standing there.
Right. And
I said, well, I'm not this person. Like, well, how did this happen? And I was just breathing, hyperventilating kind of a little bit. And I noticed I wasn't sitting where I felt myself float forward.
Right.
And I seen the wall all of a sudden right against my nose. And then I just pushed through it. And I was 3 floors up on the outside of the prison, looking straight down.
That's amazing. That is truly amazing.
And I said, I felt no gravity. And when I started swimming, like, oh no, what's happening to me? I immediately came back.
Right.
In reverse, the exact same way I went.
Wow.
So I come back in. I'm just sitting there. I got my eyes open. And I go, I can't believe this is happening to me. I thought I was dying. It felt so weird. And in the moment, I figured with all the stress that happened, I gave myself a heart attack. And I died. And then maybe I jolted back. I mean, I didn't know. And I said, wait, that couldn't have happened. That's not real. And then I went, well, I got plenty of time to try it again. And I sat there and I tried, and it happened instantly. I came out, looked at myself in the face, and was like, bye-bye. Went right through the wall. Went on some kind of weird angle. I saw the moon. I felt total freedom. And I started visiting people that I knew along the coast of Florida.
That's wild.
And nobody would...
Could they see you?
No.
They couldn't see you.
But this is what happened. I visited the person that had to do with me being there, right? So I looked in at her, and she looked up at me, and I knew she seen me. I knew it. Her mouth opened like, oh, right? A couple days later, I get a visit, and it's her. And she has not allowed to be there. I don't even know how she got in there.
Right.
I'm like, what are you doing? I just wanted to let you know that I saw you the other night. And she came clean with a whole bunch of things that I already knew, but it was interesting having someone just say it finally.
Right.
Even though I'm over here and you're over there. So she tried to hide something to play it off. Maybe she's trying to trick me. She said, well, I saw you and this is what I saw. You were just kind of, it looked like a mist and then you were in it. And I go, yeah, you weren't alone. You were having, she was fooling around with the guy that I had to fight with that got in trouble. And I said to her, you were doing, I explained exactly what she was doing. And she freaked out. She was crying and crying and crying. And she's like, how did you do that? And I was like, I have no clue what's happening to me. All I know is I went from 236 pounds to 165 pounds in 4 months. And I was on some weird health thing going on in there, just trying to keep my head above water in that place.
Sure. Couldn't have been easy.
So I'm noticing these patterns when it hits the fan. And there's some kind of extreme emotional response.
Sure. It could be fear. It could be happiness or joy, or it could be just curiosity. But I guess that was fear-driven at the time.
I'll try to connect the dots and say how open you were, what it affects in you,
right?
What's happening. And you'll notice that you're shifting vibrations and frequencies.
Yes, and that's always a good thing.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. It's just that we're never taught about it. And that's what we're trying to do. We're your protection from deception. Love you guys. See you next time.